The sky over Earth was no longer the familiar blue. Strange lights flickered and danced across the atmosphere, casting long shadows over cities, mountains, and oceans. People stopped in the streets, staring upward, unable to comprehend what they were seeing. The Galaxer fleet had arrived. Their ships were enormous, larger than any building, stretching across the sky like dark mountains. Their sleek, metallic surfaces reflected sunlight in sharp flashes, and their sheer number made Earth look small and vulnerable. Leaders around the world were thrown into chaos. Emergency meetings were held in underground bunkers, secure command centers, and even aboard military ships at sea. Phones rang endlessly, alarms screamed, and every broadcast channel was filled with urgent messages. Scientists and generals alike struggled to understand the purpose of this fleet. Was it an exploration mission or something far worse? Fear gripped humanity. Commander Ethan Blake sat in the cockpit of a fighter jet, his hands steady on the controls despite the trembling in his chest. He had flown thousands of missions before, but nothing like this. Through the cockpit glass, he could see the alien ships hovering in formation, like predators circling prey. Each one was covered in strange symbols and pulsing lights that moved in ways no human machine could replicate. Beside him, scientist Clara Jennings stared at her screens, her fingers moving over the controls as she tried to make sense of the energy readings. "They're unusual," Clara said quietly. "Their energy signatures don't match anything we know. It's like their engines are alive." Ethan nodded, scanning the horizon. "They're too organized to be exploring. This feels like an attack. And we're not ready for it." Clara's eyes widened as her readings spiked. "They're already here, closer than we thought. If they want, they could strike any city in an hour." Outside, the sky was alive with motion. Smaller ships detached from the larger fleet and began descending toward Earth. They moved with incredible speed and precision, almost as if they knew every move humanity would make before it happened. From the ground, people ran in panic, screaming as warning sirens blared. Cars crashed, streets were blocked, and emergency responders struggled to keep order. Ethan took a deep breath and clenched his fists. "We may be outgunned," he said to his squadron over the radio, "but we are not out of hope. We fight together. We fight smart. We fight for our home." In command centers around the world, military leaders listened. General Marcus Hale, sitting in a secure bunker under Washington, D.C., leaned forward over his maps. "We can't match them ship for ship," he admitted, "but we can use what we know of Earth, our terrain, our cities, our skies. Guerrilla tactics, coordinated strikes. We can make them pay for every inch." Planes scrambled from airfields, missile silos activated, and navies moved to protect key coastal areas. Civilians were evacuated from major cities, guided by drones, military convoys, and local volunteers. In London, Emma Turner helped her neighbors climb into buses headed for the countryside. In Sydney, Thomas Ward worked to get people to safety along the coast. Around the globe, ordinary humans suddenly became part of a massive effort to survive. Back in the skies, Ethan's squadron moved carefully, dodging the alien ships' patrols. Each moment was tense, each maneuver a test of skill and courage. They had no weapons that could penetrate the hulls of the Galaxer ships, but speed, surprise, and unpredictability were their advantages. A single mistake could mean death, but hesitation would mean losing the planet. On the ground, scientists like Clara raced to understand the alien technology. They scanned debris, monitored the ship's energy signals, and sent data to military leaders. Every discovery, no matter how small, could give humanity a chance. Clara worked through the night, her mind running faster than her body, fueled by fear and determination. "If we can understand how their energy works," she muttered, "maybe we can find a weakness. Maybe we can fight back." Families huddled in basements and shelters, listening to broadcasts filled with both hope and warnings. Children clung to parents, frightened by the sight of the enormous ships overhead. People whispered prayers, shared stories of bravery, and held hands as if their combined courage could reach the aliens above. Humanity's heart was being tested. In the skies again, Ethan spotted a formation of smaller alien fighters moving in a tight pattern. They were fast, faster than any human pilot could react. He realized that direct combat would be suicide. Instead, he directed his squadron toward a canyon nearby, using the terrain to mask their approach. The human pilots weaved through the cliffs and valleys, dodging alien sensors and missiles. Each successful maneuver gave a spark of hope. They had survived even for a little while. Meanwhile, Clara identified a strange pulsing energy coming from the largest ship in orbit. "Commander Blake," she said, her voice tense but excited, "that ship, it's controlling the others." If we can disrupt its energy, the fleet might lose coordination. Ethan's heart raced. This was the first real opportunity humanity had to strike back. He knew the mission would be dangerous, possibly impossible, but the alternative was total destruction. Then we find a way, he said, gripping the controls. We fight smart. We fight together. We fight because we must. Night fell, and the sky above Earth was alive with alien lights and human determination. Explosions lit up the horizon as missile launches clashed with alien energy shields. Planes maneuvered through clouds and civilians worked tirelessly below, building barricades, delivering supplies and comforting each other. Everywhere, fear and courage mixed, creating a pulse of human spirit that no alien could predict. Even as the Galaxar fleet loomed above, confident and powerful, humanity refused to give in. Each life saved, each small victory was a message. Humans might be weaker individually, but together they were unpredictable, adaptable, and brave. Ethan knew that the coming days would test every skill, every mind, and every heart, but for the first time he felt a spark of hope. Earth was facing an enemy it could barely understand, yet in the chaos humans were discovering their strength. Commander Ethan Blake and scientist Clara Jennings, along with countless others, prepared to stand against the fleet, knowing that every moment mattered. This was not just a fight for survival, it was the beginning of humanity showing the galaxy that it could not be underestimated. Above the planet, the Galaxar ships hung silently, observing, calculating, waiting. Below, humanity braced for the storm. And in the hearts of those who refused to surrender, a single truth shone brighter than fear. They would fight, they would endure, and they would survive. The sky was filled with fire and smoke as the Galaxar fleet unleashed its first attack. Massive ships hovered over major cities, their energy weapons glowing bright and deadly. People ran in panic through streets, their screams mixing with the sound of explosions and alarms. Skyscrapers shook as alien beams struck the ground, crumbling concrete and shattering glass. Humanity had never faced anything like this. The weapons on Earth felt weak against the powerful alien technology, but humans refused to give up. Commander Ethan Blake soared in his fighter jet, eyes scanning the sky for openings. His squadron followed him, weaving between tall buildings and smoke clouds, dodging alien fire. Every maneuver was dangerous, but Ethan had trained for this. He knew that speed, surprise, and clever thinking were the only advantages humans had. Clara Jennings monitored the alien signals from a mobile lab stationed on a hillside outside the city. Her fingers flew over the control panel as she calculated energy pulses to jam the aliens' communications. "I've got something," she said, her voice tense. "If we time it right, we can confuse their ships. They won't know who is attacking or where to aim." Ethan heard her over the radio. "Do it, Clara. Make them regret underestimating us." In factories and warehouses across the world, ordinary people worked quickly, turning machines and tools into weapons. Shipping containers were filled with explosives, cargo drones were modified to carry small missiles, and vehicles were armored with metal plates. Families helped neighbors move supplies, and workers volunteered long hours, driven by fear and courage. No one waited for orders, they all understood the stakes. Survival depended on everyone's effort. In London, Commander Liam Carter coordinated a defensive line along the river. Tanks and artillery fired at alien ships as planes swooped low, aiming at weak points Clara had discovered. Civilians helped wherever they could, guiding emergency vehicles and carrying supplies to those trapped by debris. Liam spoke into his radio, calm but strong. "We've survived the first strike. They underestimated us. Humanity will not fall quietly." Across the Atlantic in New York, Ethan's squadron executed hit-and-run tactics in the narrow streets. Alien ships tried to fire, but humans used every building, every alley, every shadow as cover. Some pilots flew so close to the alien ships that they could see the strange symbols etched into their hulls. With quick thinking, Ethan led his team through tight maneuvers, striking where the aliens were weakest and then disappearing before retaliation. Clara's pulses disrupted the aliens' targeting systems. Ships that should have fired accurately missed their marks. One massive alien fighter spun out of control, crashing into a bridge. Another beam struck a river instead of a building, sending water into the air like a massive fountain. Every small victory lifted the morale of both the pilots in the air and the civilians on the ground. Even children understood the need to stay calm and help. Some carried water to firefighters. Others ran messages to shelters. Fear was everywhere, but so was courage. Parents whispered to their children, "We must be strong. We can fight. We can survive." And in that small voice of hope, humanity found its greatest weapon, determination. In the Pacific, Ethan's team spotted a cluster of alien ships moving toward a coastal city. They had no heavy weapons capable of damaging the hulls, but Ethan had a plan. "Use the cliffs," he shouted. Pilots darted through rocky terrain, disappearing behind mountains and then striking from unexpected angles. Alien ships tried to follow, but the terrain slowed them. Missiles launched from the cliffs hit engines and shields, causing sparks and fire. The aliens were confused. Meanwhile, Clara worked tirelessly, sending more pulses to jam communications. "I can extend the effect," she said to the team. "It won't last long, but it's enough to give us an opening." Human forces everywhere noticed the change. Alien ships stopped coordinating attacks. Some collided with each other while others were forced to retreat. Back in London, Liam watched as a large alien ship over the city began to falter. Small teams of humans had worked together to plant explosive devices along streets and bridges, forcing the ship to maneuver awkwardly. The resulting chaos caused several other alien ships to crash, and the rest pulled back slightly. Civilians cheered from rooftops, and soldiers took advantage of the confusion to push forward. Ethan returned to base after hours in the air. His suit was scorched in places, and his hands were sore from gripping the controls, but he was alive. His squadron had suffered losses, but they had also struck real damage to the alien fleet. Clara met him at the lab, exhausted but determined. "We did it," she said, scanning the energy readings. "They didn't expect this. They're not invincible." Across the globe, similar scenes unfolded. In Tokyo, volunteers rigged streets with traps that confused alien patrols. In Rio de Janeiro, engineers redirected energy from power plants to create temporary shields for key buildings. In Cairo, citizens helped firefighters protect historical landmarks while military teams coordinated defensive strikes. Everywhere humans fought, creativity and courage became their greatest weapons. Night fell, but the battle did not end. Fires burned across cities and smoke choked the air, but humanity held. The Galaxer ships retreated slightly, regrouping and assessing the unexpected resistance. Their sensors could not understand the humans' improvisation and coordination. For the first time, they realized that Earth's defenders were not weak, primitive beings. They were unpredictable, clever, and determined. Ethan sat on the roof of the command center in New York, watching the remaining alien ships move across the sky. Clara joined him, holding a cup of water, her hair streaked with soot. "They've never seen humans fight like this," she said. "We've shown them we're not easy targets." Ethan nodded, looking at the distant lights of fires and the silhouettes of people still working through the chaos. "And we won't stop. Not tonight, not tomorrow. We fight for every life, every city, every family. They will learn that humans never surrender quietly." Liam Carter's voice came over the radio again, carrying across continents. "This is only the beginning, but humanity has shown strength. We've survived the first strike. Let that be known. We are not weak. We are not helpless. And we will fight until the last breath if we must." Even as the Galaxer fleet hovered above, humanity continued to adapt, learn, and fight. They used every resource, every idea, every ounce of courage. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, volunteers, and ordinary citizens all became part of the defense. From skyscrapers to forests, from deserts to oceans, humans used the planet itself as a shield and a weapon. The first strike had failed to break them. Instead, it revealed the true nature of humanity: resilience, creativity, and courage. People who had been strangers moments before were now united in a single purpose: to survive and defend their home. And in that unity, they discovered power far greater than any weapon the aliens possessed. The Galaxer ships, massive and imposing, glowed with energy but faltered under the human ingenuity below. They had underestimated the planet's defenders. For every ship destroyed or damaged, morale grew stronger among the humans. Families, soldiers, and pilots alike began to believe they could win this war. By dawn, the first strike was over. Fires still smoldered and the streets were in ruins, but humanity had survived. Ethan, Clara, Liam, and countless others knew this was only the beginning. The aliens would return, but so would humanity, stronger, smarter, and ready. Across the world, from the tallest skyscrapers to the smallest villages, humans began to rebuild and prepare. They had learned the most important lesson: no matter how powerful the enemy seemed, humanity's courage and ingenuity could match it. And in that lesson lay the hope for survival. Weeks passed since the first strike of the Galaxer fleet. The sky was still filled with distant ships and patrols, but humanity had begun to adapt. Cities that had been shattered were slowly being cleared of debris. People worked tirelessly, rebuilding roads, restoring power, and rescuing anyone trapped in ruins. Soldiers, engineers, and volunteers moved together with a new sense of purpose. Each day brought lessons, and every mistake became knowledge for the next move. Ethan Blake stood on a high ridge outside the city, looking at the horizon where alien ships hovered above the ocean. He had not slept properly for days. His eyes were tired and his hands shook slightly, but his mind was sharp. "We cannot just react anymore," he said to Clara Jennings, who stood beside him, checking a small device that pulsed with readings from the alien fleet. "We have to take the fight to them. We need to strike their command ship." Clara nodded, her eyes focused. "I've studied the energy signals. If we can disrupt the central command ship, their smaller ships will lose coordination. We can turn the tide of this war." The plan was dangerous. The command ship orbited above the Pacific, far out of reach of conventional weapons. Ethan would lead a small strike team of pilots to infiltrate it. On the ground, civilians were busy building support systems, emergency shelters, communication relays, and energy devices that could power their strike. No one hesitated. Fear was still there, but it had transformed into determination. Sophie Harper, a young strategist with a mind like a puzzle master, joined the team. She had spent nights analyzing the aliens' movements, predicting how they might respond. "Ethan," she said, "if we time this correctly, we can avoid most of their patrols. The entry point I've found is lightly guarded. We can plant the devices and leave before they even realize what's happening." Ethan gathered his team in the hangar. Pilots checked their ships, engineers secured devices, and the air was tense. Each member understood the risk. Failure meant not just death for them but a stronger alien response on Earth. Yet no one backed down. The human spirit, forged under fire, had become unbreakable. The strike team launched at dusk. Shadows of alien ships glinted in the fading light as Ethan led his squadron over the ocean. The waves below reflected the colors of the energy shields from the alien command ship. Every move had to be precise. One misstep, one detection, and they would be destroyed before even reaching the surface. Clara monitored from the mobile lab on shore. Her hands moved rapidly over the controls, sending pulses to confuse minor patrols. "You're clear for the first phase," she said. "Go and may luck be with you." The squadron approached the command ship silently. Its hull was vast, stretching wider than any building on Earth. Ethan's hands tightened on the controls as they navigated through small gaps in the shields. Sophie guided them through communications, her voice calm but firm. "Left drift 2 degrees. Now up. Wait, strike now." They breached the ship. Inside, corridors glowed with alien light, walls covered in strange markings. The team moved carefully, avoiding sensors and patrols. Engineers placed devices designed to disrupt communications and energy systems. Each second counted, and each step was dangerous. The tension was thick, but the humans were focused, clever, and quick. Suddenly, alarms blared. A patrol had spotted one of the team members. Ethan acted immediately, signaling a diversion. Explosions rocked the hallways as the team split, moving to complete the mission. Sophie placed the final device, a small but powerful energy disruptor, in the heart of the command center. Lights flickered, and then the main control systems went dark. From below on Earth, Clara saw the change in the readings. "It's working," she shouted. "Their fleet is losing coordination. They're confused." Across the oceans and continents, humans noticed the shift. Alien patrols moved erratically, weapons misfired, and small groups of humans were able to counterattack with greater success. The aliens had assumed humans were weak, predictable, and primitive, but the infiltration had shattered that assumption. Ethan led his squadron back to Earth, dodging patrols that were now disorganized and slow to react. Each pilot had performed brilliantly, improvising and supporting each other. As they landed, the team was greeted with cheers, but no one relaxed. The fight was far from over, but humanity had taken a giant step forward. Clara immediately began analyzing the disrupted signals. "If we can maintain this effect," she said, "we can coordinate counterattacks around the world. Every city can defend itself more effectively." Sophie and Ethan met with leaders across the command centers. Maps and data filled the room. Soldiers and volunteers listened intently. "The aliens are vulnerable," Sophie explained. "They are not invincible. We can strike, distract, and defend at the same time. But we must be smart. Every action counts." In cities from New York to Sydney, from Cairo to Rio, humans began implementing new tactics. Engineers modified weapons with energy patterns observed from alien drones. Civilians assisted by providing supplies, repairing vehicles, and building barricades. Soldiers tested new strategies anticipating alien movements. The planet itself had become a weapon, with humans acting as its clever operators. On the horizon, alien ships began to retreat slightly, confused by the loss of central coordination. Their strikes became less precise. Teams of humans seized the opportunity, hitting weak points and rescuing trapped civilians. Every success strengthened morale. People who had been terrified weeks ago now felt hope and pride. Ethan, Sophie, and Clara gathered late one night to plan the next strike. The moon reflected off the ocean, and the sky was still crowded with alien ships, but the humans were no longer passive targets. "We've shown them we can think, adapt, and fight together," Ethan said. "They will not win easily. They will respect us now." Sophie smiled, tired but determined. "And we will continue to surprise them. Humans are not predictable. They assume weakness, but we are resourceful. That's our strength." Clara nodded, looking at the flickering lights on her instruments. "And the more we learn from them, the stronger we become. Every drone, every weapon, every piece of technology is a lesson." Across the world, civilians, soldiers, and scientists worked side by side. Fear remained, but it was tempered with courage. People took initiative, creating new devices, new plans, and new defenses. The desperation that had gripped humanity at the start had transformed into innovation. The Galaxer fleet, once confident and overwhelming, began to hesitate. They had underestimated the humans' ability to adapt and to work together. Their once perfect strategy was failing, and their leaders struggled to understand why. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and united, a combination they had never seen. Ethan looked out at the horizon from the base camp. Fires burned in cities still under attack, but people were fighting back, defending their homes and protecting one another. "This is the turning point," he said quietly. "They thought we were primitive, weak, and easy to crush. They were wrong. Very wrong." Sophie and Clara stood beside him. "And we will prove it again," Sophie said. "Every day. Every fight. Every victory counts." The humans had learned a powerful lesson. They were stronger together than any alien weapon, smarter than any plan the Galaxer fleet could make, and braver than any fear that had once held them down. For the first time, the balance of the war had shifted. Humanity was no longer just defending itself. It was striking back, showing the galaxy that the people of Earth could not be underestimated. Above the planet, the Galaxer ships moved slowly, calculating, confused, and wary. Earth had survived the worst of the first assaults, adapted, and struck back. Humanity had turned desperation into opportunity, weakness into strength, and fear into courage. The stage was set for a new chapter in the war, a chapter where humans would no longer simply survive. They would fight, adapt, and lead. The Galaxer fleet returned with a fury unlike anything Earth had seen before. Thousands of ships blotted out the sky, their lights glowing like stars of destruction. Cities burned as alien weapons struck with precision, tearing apart roads, bridges, and buildings. The air was thick with smoke, fire, and the sound of battle. Yet even as the ground shook and chaos spread, humans refused to give in. Commander Ethan Blake stood on a hill overlooking the city. His eyes scanned the horizon, searching for the enemy movements. Beside him, Commander Liam Carter coordinated troops from a makeshift command center. Communications crackled with updates from every corner of the world. "Ethan, the fleet is splitting into 3 waves, Liam said. "They aim to overwhelm us. We need to hit back smartly, not just with brute force." Ethan nodded, tightening his grip on the radio. "We'll divide our forces, hit them where they least expect it. Civilian support is critical. Everyone counts." Across the globe, Clara Jennings and Sophie Harper worked tirelessly in mobile labs and hidden facilities. Their teams studied captured alien drones, analyzing shields, weapons, and movement patterns. Engineers and volunteers worked day and night, building countermeasures, improvised weapons, and energy devices. Every discovery, no matter how small, was applied immediately to protect cities and civilians. In Paris, citizens set up barricades, reinforced buildings, and trained quickly to help soldiers. In Tokyo, volunteers converted delivery drones into mobile defense units that could drop small explosives or carry supplies to trapped civilians. In Cape Town, people used construction equipment to create obstacles and ambush points along likely alien paths. Every corner of Earth became part of the defense, ordinary people stepping into heroism because their homes and families depended on it. Ethan led his squadron in daring maneuvers through the skies, dodging energy beams and striking at weak points in alien patrols. His pilots followed orders flawlessly, coordinating attacks across cities thousands of miles apart. Every successful strike allowed more civilians to escape and more resistance teams to prepare for the next wave. Sophie directed teams using secure networks, predicting alien movements and timing counterattacks. Their formations are rigid, predictable once you read the patterns, she said. We'll exploit it. Watch for the signals we've mapped. Clara added, I've enhanced the energy disruptors. Every strike we make now will confuse them even more. The Galaxer ships moved with deadly precision, but human ingenuity and determination created chaos in their ranks. Energy shields were temporarily disabled by improvised EMP pulses, causing alien fighters to crash into the ocean or buildings. Alien ships collided with one another when forced into narrow streets or mountain passes. Each mistake weakened the invaders' confidence. On the ground, ordinary people fought bravely. Farmers, factory workers, teachers, and students defended streets with improvised weapons. They guided children to safety, helped firefighters, and rescued the injured. In every city, the distinction between soldier and civilian blurred. Humans had become a single, resilient force. In New York, a team of engineers triggered explosives along a bridge to stop a group of alien ships from advancing. The resulting chaos allowed ground forces to hit the invaders from behind. In London, teams of civilians lured patrols into narrow alleys, then disabled them with traps they had built overnight. In Sydney, coordinated strikes from drones forced alien ships to retreat temporarily. Ethan's squadron worked tirelessly, flying missions that would have been impossible a few weeks earlier. Pilots dodged beams, launched counterattacks, and coordinated with Clara and Sophie's teams to hit critical alien systems. The sky was alive with energy pulses, explosions, and the streaks of human aircraft weaving through enemy formations. As the battle raged, Liam watched the alien command communications. For the first time, he saw confusion among the Galaxer leaders. Their attacks were no longer perfectly coordinated. Ships fired at wrong targets, some retreated when they should have advanced. Humanity's ability to adapt, to think creatively, and to act as one had disrupted what the aliens had assumed was an unstoppable force. Even in moments of terror, hope persisted. Families huddled together in shelters while sending signals to coordinate with resistance teams. Children learned quickly to duck, hide, or even assist in small ways, carrying messages, bringing supplies, or alerting adults to danger. Fear did not destroy them, it became fuel for courage. In the mountains of South America, a small town had been cut off. Volunteers and soldiers worked together, creating diversions, setting traps, and guiding civilians to safe zones. Ethan's squadron flew over to provide air support, while Clara remotely triggered energy disruptors that disoriented alien ships. The combination of local knowledge, human courage, and strategic planning forced the aliens to retreat from the area. Across oceans and deserts, the pattern repeated. Humans everywhere improvised, learned, and adapted faster than the aliens could respond. Their resilience had become a weapon stronger than any gun or ship. Every citizen, every soldier, every scientist contributed to a defense that the Galaxer fleet could not fully comprehend. By nightfall, fire still burned, but humans had turned the tide. The aliens, massive and confident, faltered as they tried to regroup. Ethan's pilots returned to base, exhausted but alive. Clara's team monitored energy signals, noting every failure of the alien fleet. Sophie analyzed their patterns, predicting weaknesses that could be exploited further. In a command broadcast, Liam addressed the world. They came expecting easy victory. They assumed we were weak. But humanity has proven that our strength is in our unity, our courage, and our ability to adapt. Every one of you is a hero. Every act of bravery counts. Even the Galaxer leaders began to understand that their most dangerous enemy was not the humans' weapons, but their minds and hearts. Humans were creative, resourceful, and relentless. They learned quickly, adapted, and acted together. Their ability to turn despair into opportunity, fear into courage, and weakness into strength was something the aliens could not predict or counter effectively. Across cities, villages, and rural areas, ordinary people continued to fight. A teacher in a small town used farming equipment to block a street and stop an alien patrol. A group of teenagers in a suburb guided civilians to safety while confusing alien sensors. A group of engineers in a factory modified old vehicles into mobile attack units. Each act, small or large, contributed to the larger effort. Ethan and Liam planned for the next day, studying maps and signals to coordinate further strikes. Clara and Sophie prepared new devices, taking advantage of captured alien technology. "We've reached a new level," Ethan said. "They thought they could destroy us quickly, but we've shown them something they never expected. This is humanity's true power." And it was true. The humans had become more than pilots, soldiers, or scientists. They were a single force united by survival and courage. Their ingenuity allowed them to use every tool, every strategy, and every environment to their advantage. Their resilience had forced the aliens to adapt, hesitate, and retreat in ways the humans had never expected to achieve so quickly. In the sky, the Galaxar fleet hovered, damaged and wary. Their confidence had been shaken by humans who refused to yield. Earth had survived wave after wave of attack, and for the first time humanity had the advantage of knowledge, preparation, and unity. They had turned desperation into strength, fear into determination, and chaos into clever strategy. Ethan looked over the horizon, watching the last few alien ships move away for the night. Cities were damaged, fires burned, and people were exhausted, but hope had returned. Humans had survived. Humans had adapted. Humans had shown the galaxy that they would not surrender quietly. Sophie and Clara stood beside him, watching the lights of cities still defending themselves. "They don't understand us yet," Sophie said. "They think we're just primitive creatures. But we're more than that. We fight, we learn, and we never stop." Clara nodded. "And now they know. Our strength is not just weapons. It's our minds, our courage, and our unity. They will have to respect that if they want to win." Ethan smiled, tired but determined. "Then we make sure they never forget it. Humanity stands together. We fight not just for survival but for every life on this planet. And we will win." Night settled over the world, but the human spirit burned brighter than any fire. People slept briefly, then prepared again, ready to defend their homes, their families, and their planet. The Galaxar fleet had returned in full force, but humanity's last stand had shown the galaxy a truth it could not ignore. Humans were resilient, clever, and united. Their unity was their greatest weapon, and they would never yield. The sky over Earth was quiet for the first time in months. The Galaxar fleet had retreated into deep space, their massive ships leaving behind only smoke, fire, and debris. The last battle had been fierce, testing every human's skill, courage, and mind, but humanity had survived. The planet was scarred, cities were in ruins, forests had burned, and oceans carried the wreckage of alien ships, but the people stood tall. They had triumphed, and the galaxy would never see Earth the same way again. Commander Ethan Blake walked through the streets of New York, now quiet after the chaos. He stepped over rubble, careful not to hurt himself, but his eyes were bright with hope. Children peeked from behind walls, parents waved, and survivors began to rebuild. Humanity had suffered, but it had survived. It was proof that fear alone could not break them. Beside him, Clara Jennings carried a small device she had recovered from the final alien ship. It pulsed faintly with energy and she smiled. "This is more than just a tool," she said. "It's a lesson. We've learned so much from them. We can use this to protect ourselves in the future and maybe even to explore the stars safely." Ethan nodded. "We fought not because we feared nothing," he said quietly, "but because we believed in each other. Every person, every family, every soldier, every volunteer, our courage, creativity, and unity were stronger than any weapon they had." From London, Commander Liam Carter coordinated rebuilding efforts and shared the story of the war with the world. He visited cities that had suffered the most damage, helping to organize teams for repair, food distribution, and medical care. His presence inspired people, showing that even those who led armies had not forgotten the human side of survival. Sophie Harper moved between research labs and command centers, guiding scientists and engineers as they studied the remnants of alien technology. Every recovered piece was carefully analyzed and humans learned quickly. Energy devices were adapted to power cities, shield systems were tested, and new communication networks were created. Humanity had gained knowledge and tools it had never imagined possible. In Paris, volunteers cleared debris from streets and repaired bridges. In Sydney, engineers rebuilt power stations using lessons learned from alien technology. In Cairo, doctors treated injuries caused by the attacks while teaching new safety methods. Everywhere, people worked together, combining ordinary human skill with the extraordinary understanding gained from the battle. For the first time, ordinary citizens felt the pride of survival. Farmers, teachers, factory workers, and students realized they had been part of a planet-wide effort to defeat a powerful alien fleet. Their bravery, their creativity, and their willingness to help had made a real difference. Humanity had proven that it was not weak, not primitive, and not to be underestimated. Ethan, Clara, Liam, and Sophie gathered before a world audience broadcast across continents. Millions watched from homes, shelters, and emergency centers. Cameras recorded the four leaders standing together on a makeshift stage in New York, the city still scarred but alive with activity. Ethan stepped forward, speaking with calm authority. "We have survived the greatest threat humanity has ever faced," he said. "We fought not because we were fearless but because we believed in each other. Because we cared for every person on this planet. Our courage, creativity, and unity are stronger than any weapon the galaxy could bring against us." Clara added, "We have learned much from the enemy we faced. Every challenge became a lesson. Every moment of fear became a chance to grow. Humans are adaptable, resilient, and united. That is our greatest strength." Liam's voice echoed next. "We rebuild not just buildings but hope. Not just cities but a future. Humanity has shown that no matter how powerful the foe, determination and teamwork can overcome the impossible." Sophie smiled, looking at the millions watching. "And we will not stop here. We will teach future generations to be prepared, to think creatively, and to protect our world. We have survived our darkest hour, and now we rise stronger than ever." Across the world, people celebrated quietly, helping each other repair homes, rebuild neighborhoods, and care for the injured. They shared stories of bravery, of sacrifices made, of lives saved. They laughed again, cried together, and felt the relief of survival. Humanity had been tested, and it had passed with courage and honor. In laboratories and workshops, engineers and scientists continued their work. Alien devices were studied, replicated, and sometimes improved. Humans discovered new ways to harness energy, new methods of communication, and new possibilities for transportation. The war had left destruction, but it had also given knowledge and experience. Humanity would never again be unprepared for threats from beyond the stars. Children played cautiously among the ruins, their laughter small but bright. Teachers taught lessons not only of reading and writing, but also of courage, unity, and creativity. Parents told stories of the battles they had witnessed, the neighbors who had helped, and the heroes who had risked everything. These stories would be remembered for generations, shaping a culture that valued bravery, teamwork, and clever thinking. Ethan flew over the Pacific in a small aircraft, watching the sun rise over the horizon. The ocean reflected light like silver, calm after months of battle. Ships were being repaired, ports were reopened, and communication lines restored. Humanity had survived against odds that had seemed impossible. And now they were stronger for it. From orbit, the remaining Galaxar fleet could see Earth's recovery. Their ships, once confident and terrifying, moved slowly, unsure of what humans were capable of. They had underestimated the planet's defenders. Earthlings were no longer simple prey or weak creatures to be crushed. They were clever, adaptable, and united, a species that could fight back and survive. Across the galaxy, other civilizations began to take note. Earth was no longer a minor world. It had risen to a place that demanded respect. In villages, towns, and cities around the globe, people continued rebuilding. Volunteers worked side by side with engineers, doctors treated the wounded, and children learned from the example of those who had fought. Every repaired street, every rebuilt home, every rescued life was a reminder of human perseverance. Ethan, Clara, Liam, and Sophie often met to plan for the future. They knew the Galaxar fleet might return one day or that other threats could come. But humanity would be ready. Training programs were established for new generations of pilots, scientists, and strategists. Communities learned survival skills. Research into alien technology continued, giving Earth a new advantage. One evening, as the sky darkened, Ethan looked down at a city that was coming back to life. He saw children playing, people working together, and teams repairing what had been destroyed. He smiled. "We survived," he said quietly, "and we will continue to rise. Humanity will never be underestimated again." Clara joined him, holding a small device recovered from alien debris. "We have the knowledge now," she said. "We can protect ourselves, explore, and prepare for anything. The galaxy will have to respect us." Liam and Sophie appeared, standing together with Ethan and Clara, watching the city lights flicker as night fell. The four of them knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had survived, but now they had a choice: to grow stronger, to unite further, and to become a species that could face the stars with confidence. And that is what they chose. Across continents, people rebuilt, learned, and trained. Across oceans, cities rose from ruins. Across deserts and forests, communities strengthened. Humanity had survived its darkest hour, and now, it stood ready for the future. Above Earth, the stars shone brightly. They had once been a reminder of danger, of the vast unknown. Now they were a symbol of possibility, knowledge, and human potential. Humanity had risen from destruction, showing courage, ingenuity, and unity. Other civilizations would soon understand that the people of Earth could not be ignored, could not be defeated easily, and would never again be underestimated. And on the ground, in homes, streets, and labs, humans lived, worked, and laughed once more. They had fought for survival, they had triumphed, and they had risen. Humanity had proven, once and for all, that even against the most advanced enemy, courage, unity, and creativity were stronger than any weapon. The war had ended, but humanity's rise had just begun.